Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very large, or potentially monstrous winter storm that will be occurring across a good portion of the United States. Now, yes, it is already a March, well into March. So for some, especially across the south where the warmer temperatures have really made it feel like spring and pretty much brought the onset of spring already. This may seem like a far thing that's only the northerners deal with. But the system, this one could bring snow as far south as Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. This thing is very far to the south for its time of the year. It has a lot of snow associated with it, even for the southern locations. And further up along the northeast coast, not really the coast, but kind of Kentucky, West Virginia, and then moving closer towards the coast, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, leaving a very heavy swath of snow. Obviously, those areas are more used to it, but still a very, very powerful system with potentially a good amount of severe weather as well. Lots of precipitation, lots of rain, snow, and of course, bitter cold temperatures behind this. Possibly the coldest ones we've had for March since probably the invasion in 2018, where in early March much of the United States was facing 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And that was unprecedented, and maybe not to that same extent as this will be short-lived, but definitely, an icy, an icy dagger into springs, I guess, approach, and definitely will halt, I guess, that quick approach. So, yeah, I just want to again talk about that system. But before we do, if you guys are new to this channel, hello and welcome. I talk about the weather. I'm a weather enthusiast and weather hobbyist. I love talking about the weather, and I go through most of the year with videos, but especially during the winter time, I make a lot of videos about winter storms because that's what I really find the most fun to talk about. And yeah, if you obviously enjoy this, consider subscribing, liking. I should say this at the end of the video where it's more appropriate, but I always forget, so I just say it at the beginning. And if you have any comments about the system, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Last time I didn't, but this time hopefully I will be answering comments. Okay, let me show you what I was showing you, which is a National Weather Service map. These are a bunch of alerts, advisories. I mean, anything ranging from frosts, strong winds, to obviously the winter storm warnings, advisories, cold. And yeah, you could see that in that pink, we have that winter storm warning area for the first phase of the system that I'm talking about. Again, this is kind of its first phase. It's already powerful, and these areas will get absolutely slammed. Cities like Kansas City, maybe Topeka, North Platte, into portions of Omaha. Though again, in that purple area, it's a bit less, sorry about that, little bit less in terms of intensity and more in terms of just kind of a nuisance. And that's why there's a winter weather advisory. You can still see some of these areas though, 1 to 2 inches. I think there's already around 2 inches reported in North Platte, so up to 5 inches in total. So even though there isn't a storm warning, still an impactful storm. Notice further across Kansas, the amounts are going to be higher given the fact that there are winter storm warnings, and you can see that that is the case. A chance for 1 inch or more. I mean, it's 100 pretty much across much of the northern part of the state. And you can see even good chances for 4 inches plus. You can see pretty good amounts. And there's still quite a bit of uncertainty, even though this will be occurring pretty much tomorrow or tonight into Thursday. And again, you can see how far south, how exactly strong will this storm actually be, how high these amounts will actually fall. And just to give you an idea, let's take a look at the office of Omaha. And I think they have a snowfall forecast issued. And you can see it's a pretty sharp cutoff, and the range, say for Nebraska City, if you end up with 2 inches, that's a big difference between seeing 5 inches. That's a lot more. It's almost more than double, right? The further south, right here along pretty much a border of Nebraska and Kansas, is where the heaviest will fall. Big metro like Kansas City are mainly under a winter storm warning. Again, quite a bit of snow is possible, and you can see that it's 4 to 7, so you could end up anywhere from 4 to 7, maybe even more or a bit less. So again, it's quite uncertain, and they're definitely mentioning that here, that the uncertainty is still pretty high, and there isn't really any snow developing just yet. But let me show you a bit of the motion. So again, here's a radar. You can see the winter storm warnings and watches are overlaid over the map, and notice that it's really getting its act together. I do want to mention that there was quite a bit of snow across the northeast. I didn't really talk about this because it was, well, I did talk about it last time, and I said it was kind of almost an out of nowhere storm, but it did drop quite a bit of snow. Notice you're mainly kind of far away from the coasts of, say, New Jersey and Delaware. These areas didn't really get snow, but further up, I mean, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Boston, obviously upstate New York probably got the heaviest, and I'll show you the snowfall amounts where they're actually pretty decent. And notice this was through today, 3, 4, 5 p.m. and it's still snowing right there in Boston as of 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, pretty much 8 o'clock there, and they're in the coastal time. And you can see it's pulling away. So it was a pretty good snowfall event. And let me just show you some of these amounts here. And once they load, you can see Albany, the capital of New York, got around 5 inches. So that is definitely not a bad event. 17-to-1 liquid ratio, so it was a pretty fluffy snow. Up here, more than 6 inches, 7 inches. Pittsburgh got a nice 2 to 3, 2 to 4 inch events. And in Boston, got around 1 to 3 inches. It's still snowing, not fully updated, so probably around 2 to 5 once it's fully done. And so yeah, that's not really to do with the storm I'm talking about, but I'm just showing you that, there's activity going on nonetheless. This is part of the storm that we're talking about. And you can see that the first phase that was already occurring on Tuesday when I first started talking about this, or I think Monday actually, dropped quite a bit of snow to Salt Lake City. Northern Salt Lake got around 7 inches of snow. Further south, you can see right there was only 1 inch. But look right here, 7.5 in the northern areas. Further south is a bit less. Higher the mountains just east of the city are obviously picking up the most, and very good amounts right there into Wyoming. Look at that, up to 20 inches. Definitely a good amount of snowfall, and this will now spread into Nebraska. It's already spreading. You can see up to 9 inches right there, and it will spread into Kansas and Missouri, as I showed you with the snowfall estimates. So let me show you, what will happen. What's the estimate from the models and what they think will occur. So let me play this slowly. So again, that's our system occurring right now across the Northeast. That thing is pulling away. However, a lot of this moisture, the reason it got up there is because of a strong flow that is bringing it up here. Strong southerly winds, and this will, really help out this system that we're looking at right here. And it will incorporate that warm air in just a second. You'll see it. But for now, it's mainly just a moisture-starved system. Though, again, because of the snow occurring in pretty cold conditions, there could be quite a bit of it, even with seemingly a lackluster event. So again, there could be up to 6 inches with that, so you don't get caught off guard. Do note that this thing could spread all the way into Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, maybe, into tomorrow. Again, there's a lot of model disagreement on that. Generally, though, a 1 to 3 inch swath of light to fluffy snow across Illinois, Indiana, with that little snow. Again, more to the northern locations of Indiana, southern Michigan, and into Missouri. But this is where things get really active, right? So notice we have a very, very sharp cold air feature right there. Low pressure behind it. We have just vicious cold air. Just to show you that on the 2-meter temperature anomalies, which basically show us how cold or how warm the air is for this time of the year. You can see that's almost, again, like that dagger. Very, very cold, and to the south as well, very cold, which is why there will be snow occurring. And notice that by Friday, so again, this is not tomorrow, but this is Friday, we start seeing the system really get its act together. Oklahoma City, the panhandles of Texas, right? We're southern Kansas now, into central Missouri, into Arkansas. We see quite a bit of snow. The panhandles, again, even Amarillo, southern New Mexico, seeing snow. That transitions over to rain as we get a more moisture and southern kind of Pacific air working in. But up here, this thing just gets even more crazy. Look, that cold air, it's pressuring the system to move towards the east. So what that does, it allows it to pick up way more moisture than it would. Again, pretty strong southerly winds, nothing extreme, but they do get stronger as the system progresses. And notice that by late Friday, so this is 6 p.m. now, this is midnight. So if you're out on Friday, the weekend, get ready. Ohio, you're going to look like a winter wonderland. Much of Indiana, especially southern Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee. This thing's fast moving, though, so you can see that, much of eastern Kentucky, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, you're done with this by 6 a.m., but it's really intensifying. We have very cold air, strong winds from the north, extremely heavy snow occurring across these areas, several inches possible. Here is where the severe weather also starts getting acted up again within just a few 6-hour intervals. This thing goes from, a little feature producing snow across the south to being a full-fledged system with lots of moisture snowing across the major Canadian cities of Toronto, Quebec. Toronto getting kind of the cusp of it, but at least in this stage you'll get some earlier, but especially Quebec really just getting hammered by this from the very beginning. And as the system intensifies, you'll continue seeing snow. Some amounts could be absolutely ridiculous up there. And again, the severe weather potential as you get into Saturday morning is pretty strong. Up along the northeast coast, you could see a lot of rain. So, Boston got several inches of snow. Now you'll be seeing some rain. You're right. Cities like Pittsburgh, you could be in for a lot of snow out of this. You're kind of in the crosshairs right there. Western Pennsylvania, western New York, portions of eastern Kentucky. Again, Charleston, southern Ohio, Cincinnati. A bit further west or east of that, Cincinnati is probably where it's the heaviest is favored. And look, as the system pulls away, I mean, it's still very strong, very well organized. We have a lot of dynamics here. Very strong high pressure, very strong cold air, very strong moist warm air. So again, a lot of dynamics for the severe weather, and of course that snow. And when this thing is all said and done, the Northeast is obviously left with a pretty good batch of cold air. Which, by the way, this is the morning lows of a Sunday, or sorry, yeah, early Sunday, and you can see it's single digits for many of these locations, even as far south as Kentucky, Tennessee. So if you've seen leaves or buds on your trees this far south, get ready, because that's gonna be probably ruined by this winter storm, unfortunately, as bad as that sounds. But notice that many of these areas picking up a good swath of snow. Obviously, further west here, these amounts are a bit underestimated because it's assuming a 10 to 1 inch ratio. And you saw the National Weather Service is a bit more aggressive, and that's rightfully so. Here, it's a bit more accurate, but again, you could still see over a foot potentially, especially towards the northeast and southern Canada, and a widespread 6 to 12 inch swath kind of through Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee. I say 6 to 12 because it's a big range. Again, a lot of the snow will be occurring in very cold conditions, so some of this may be underplayed. And let me show you some of the high-res models, as I can do that now since this is less than 48 or 84 hours out. Notice the NAM 12 cam shows a broad area of light to moderate snow across these, a good area of the United States, but it really starts intensifying that snow along that line when that system interacts with that warmer air. And yeah, that's just one scenario. The RGEM is an even more aggressive scenario for the Northeast and kind of the western mid-Atlantic. Decent amounts though into Illinois, Missouri. You could see a widespread 2 to 4 inch swath across much of, say, Missouri. Again, with pockets higher towards Kansas City, into Tennessee, Kentucky, northern Arkansas. Let me show you how this model thinks will play out. Let me go quicker with it now, since I already showed you it. Again, there's our system occurring tomorrow, and by the time tomorrow evening rolls around, it's snowing in Chicago, potentially Detroit, getting a little bit of snow, Indiana, Ohio, sorry, not Ohio. Well, yeah, Ohio getting into it, but really Missouri, Kansas City. And then look, we start seeing that snow abate from areas like the Panhandle, which will really reach there by a late Thursday and kind of leave there by Friday. That's a good thing with the system. At least it's very quick. But notice this band of snow, right? It's a solid band of snow. Late Friday evening. This thing starts intensifying very quickly, and you can see this thing turns upright. We have a lot of warm air. Again, that severe weather potential is concerning. And again, a lot of snow. Again, pretty far to the south. Tennessee, Alabama, maybe Mississippi. Georgia, probably not. Maybe a few flurries across the northern areas, but nothing really of accumulation kind of type. But again, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, you're in the rain. Much of the coastal cities as well. But, don't just think this is a small rain event. You'll probably be seeing thunderstorms, very heavy rain, something that's equally as concerning probably as that heavy snow. And then look, I mean, it really bombs out at 964 millibars, a very strong system. And that's the other thing I want to mention. The winds with this thing will be wicked. Wicked. I mean, the cold air is one thing, but when you have 16 degrees at midnight, right, or 6, and you have 30 to 20 mile per hour wind gusts, it's gonna feel cold, especially for mid-March. So again, a lot of snow with this one. According to the Canadian version, you could see a total snowfall right there. Boom. The Canadian high res, that's what it is. Now the Canadian operational, also very similar track. Notice a lot of confidence, or a lot of kind of overlap with the models, showing a very similar track. Some obviously differences, but there's at least agreement among the models that the system is occurring, and it will be delivering a heavy snow swath across the interior portions of the Northeast, through the South, mid-South almost, and into portions of South Central United States and the Ohio Valley as well. So yes, this thing is definitely impressive, and let me show you a few more models that kind of agree with this. Again, there's our system. That may not look like heavy snow. It's heavy snow, and even the Storm Prediction Center a few hours ago issued a mesoscale discussion concerning very heavy snow starting today into the evening and into the overnight hours across Nebraska and Kansas. And again, this thing kind of peters out. The system almost dies off, it seems. But by Friday, late Thursday, Friday, this thing starts intensifying. Oklahoma, Texas, right? Dallas, a lot of those big cities, you're going to be seeing maybe a little brief period of ice, but probably followed by just a more significant rain, or not even that significant. As you can see, it quickly whips away, but nothing too concerning for those areas. Where it starts getting concerning is, Oklahoma City, further north into Little Rock, potentially a very heavy band of snow into Indianapolis and areas south. We start seeing that intensification into Ohio. Look at that, pretty far south into Mississippi, Tupelo, potentially seeing a brief period of snow. maybe even accumulating. Again, it'll be hard for accumulations to stay on grass where it's pretty warmed up, given that it's been pretty warm there, and it is already March. But under if you live in Kentucky, West Virginia, you see such heavy snowfall rates, it will accumulate, and it will melt probably quickly days, a couple days afterwards. But for the days that it occurs, it's nasty. And look, that's where the severe weather threat is concerning across the southeast. We have a lot of environmental factors that are leading me to believe, and really the scientists at the Storm Prediction Center, this is an area to watch, especially through Saturday, late Friday, Saturday, and into portions of Sunday. And you can see that this thing, yeah, I mean, look at that snow. Very, very heavy snow, extremely heavy rain for areas like Boston, up along the northeast coast. So if you're look in your backyard right now, you have water standing around. It's pretty soggy soil. I don't know how the conditions are, but I'm just kind of trying to paint an image. This could drop several inches of rain. So maybe take some precautions with that. And of course, where you do see the snow, take out the snow blowers and snow shovels. And look, the European, usually more accurate model, more conservative one, shows a 968 millibar low pressure. Again, extremely strong winds. Probably blizzard warnings will be issued for a good portion of Maine and New Hampshire. And if you live in the U.S. And you don't know about say Canada, you may think, oh, that's the Maine. Not a lot of people live there, but just across the border, there are large cities here. I mean, it's the most populated area of Canada, right? So yeah, that's definitely going to be impactful, especially for the cities like Quebec. Just an absolute monster, and of course the winds are going to make that feel just even more miserable. So total rainfall, so snow and rain and everything combined. Again, lighter amounts here, but still in terms of snow, that could equal easily over 6-7 inches. But then here, as I mentioned, that severe weather threat will be producing a lot of rain, especially along the coastal areas right here, 2 to 3 inches. That's a lot. And back here, you can see some of those amounts are very impressive, but that is actually going to be in the form of snow, and you can see that they're definitely impressive. Assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, upstate New York, Albany, maybe a foot plus, Quebec, you're right on a cusp of seeing, a foot to potentially even more, again, depending on the exact track of this system, and assuming a correct snowfall ratio, right? So this is what the GFS shows, the model I just showed you. There's the more accurate run, the more up-to-date one, if you will. That's what it shows, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. But if you put on the Kuchera, you can see they get slightly higher across in the mountainous areas and up north. So I would not be surprised to see some 3-foot amounts, or amounts nearing 3 feet across portions of extreme northern Vermont and maybe upstate New York, as that's where the snow will be or falling heavily and with a lot of cold air, so it will be more fluffy. Canadian model, I showed you this one already. It's track, but I showed you it on this website right here. I showed you it. It's the one that was pretty aggressive with the amounts. This is what it looked like, assuming a 10-to-1 ratio. You turn on the Kuchera and you can see these amounts, especially across areas here, they get higher. And we know that's the case, as the predicted amounts here are similar to what it shows here. Maybe not, 11 inches, but there could be some double-digit amounts, by the way, across the Kansas and Nebraska area. That's not out of the question. Maybe not as far west or east as Kansas City, but areas across, where the really kind of the front range of the Rockies, you could still qualify it as. And we're already seeing amounts that are easily almost approaching that. So that's the Canadian. You can see, again, shows a lot of snowfall right there into New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Quebec, right? So that is definitely something we will have to watch for. Look at all those snowfall amounts. That is impressive. So in terms of centimeters, if a aggressive scenario like this were to occur, say for Quebec with up to 20 inches, that's up to 50 centimeters if that were to occur. So that is definitely impressive. And yeah, I could show you some of the more high-res models which go out to 40 or 50 hours, but again, it only goes out to 51 hours, so it's not really far out enough. It could show you easily, though, the first stage of the system. You're right across Kansas and Nebraska, and you can see that into tonight and tomorrow this thing really takes off and does drop quite a bit of snow. Again, nothing extreme, but definitely a quick 6 to 7 inches. And that is rather extreme for these areas, but again, further west or east into Chicago, Indiana, that thing kind of starts petering out. But you can see that cold front develops, and easily you can pick up even some decent amounts across these areas. If that cold front is a bit more powerful, we see some more banding. It's a very uncertain system, and the National Weather Service makes note of that. Even a few hours out, it's still an uncertain forecast for, say, Kansas City right there. and into portions of those areas. Regarding the severe weather, nothing major into Thursday or today, into Wednesday, a bit across Florida. They do have a system going on there right now. Notice that into Friday, there is a slight risk already issued, again, pretty far out. And then on Saturday, there's another one issued that's across more of the southeast. So that definitely, one of those days could definitely be an enhanced, if not even a moderate, based on what we're looking at right now. But again, for now, stay safe, stay tuned, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. I just wanted to give you a brief rundown of what's to occur, what's to come. Again, if you live across the north, you'll just be dealing with the cold air. Yes, that's what I wanted to show. I knew I was missing something. I want to show you guys the extremely cold air that will be occurring, and for that, let me just take a look at the European model, because that one is probably the most accurate for temperatures, and we have a pretty good look at it here. So let's take a look at this. So again, going out to 84 hours, this avoids all the precip, all that. This is just the temperatures. Notice pretty good days across the south and east into the next Friday, or really few hours, I should say, instead of good days. Pretty warm. You won't think that, a giant winter storm is coming, but a different story across Texas, where it's already pretty chilly starting on Friday. Very chilly. And then look, after the system passes through, look at these negatives. Again, this isn't, this is March. So for January, that's still cold, but nothing extreme. But for March, that is definitely very, very cold. And you can see that that's the coldest day right there for much of the Midwest. Friday night into early Saturday. As far south as Chicago, maybe single digits. Northern Illinois, Kansas City, where that, snowfall footprint is, you could definitely see bitter cold temperatures across much of the south, getting pretty far into, Mississippi, Alabama, those bitter cold temperatures. And then, of course, that second day is worse for the Northeast, Saturday into Sunday, versus here it starts warming up. You can see that almost reaches the Gulf of Mexico, freezing temperatures. This late in the year, concerning to say the least. Just the damages to the crops. I don't know how, exactly leafed out the trees are, but looking at maps that I saw earlier that show me the status of spring, I have this little thing here right here that I could show you. There could be some damage there. You could see, again, into far northern or southern Alabama, Mississippi there, that 32-degree line apparently. And look, this is where that spring has already arrived. And this also gives you, based on, how late or early, but apparently, according to this, it's already, many trees are budding as far north as, say, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. I mean, goodness, right? So you could see just that wiped out, especially across Kentucky. We could see several inches of snow with just bitter cold air. So stay tuned. And yeah, for now, that's all I have to show you. And I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya.